Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday night show. We are mixing it up tonight in terms of guests. We've got Holly, Rick, and Beth on tonight. How's everybody doing? How's the bank holiday?
All good for me, mate.
Yeah, it's going well.
Good. I can feel the excitement there. Will that excitement still be there tomorrow after United are finished with us? We will touch on that as we get through towards the back end of the show, but we have got plenty to talk about in the meantime. Which includes the goal, the man himself, Cristiano Ronaldo. Will he stay? Will he go? Rumours about Lingard and Pogba. Are there anyone out there willing to take these players? That's what the wages will demand, and will they go with it? But we're going to start with Ronaldo. Rick, I'm going to come to you first on this one, mate. Rumours generating interest from PSG, Bayern, interesting, and Real Madrid. I would probably say more likeliest outcome in terms of Ronaldo if he does want to leave. Would you see Ronaldo leaving this summer as a bad thing for us in terms of Ten Hag's plan, the lack of numbers that we already know we're going to have next season? Or is it a case for you like, well, we're going to have to accept that he's only going to be here another year at least anyway, so starting a year really isn't so bad?
I think it'd be... Look, we don't know what the manager's going to bring in. We don't know what his plans are. But certainly at the minute, he's the only quality striker that we've got, isn't he? In our best days, we've had four. One's nowhere near the amount of strikers that you need. So, like you just said, purely on numbers, but not just numbers, but quality. It'd be a disaster if he left. At the minute, for me, we need to sign 2 strikers. So if he leaves, we need to sign 3, and I can't see that.
I think that rolls into the midfield situation as well, doesn't it? If Pogba leaves, Matic leaves, I think we need 2 now. So does that mean we need 4? It's like doubling up, isn't it? But I mean, Holly, I've been talking about it without even thinking about it on my fan vlogs and forums and whatnot on the channel for the last few weeks about Ronaldo. I was like, is anyone else ever going to contribute to this football team in terms of scoring goals? Because the only games we've won are because of his goals. And I can't remember anyone else scoring the goals. And ESPN actually put it up on a tweet, and I put it back out there. It's like Fred is the only other goal scorer out of the last 9 goals we've scored. Ronaldo's got every other single one of them. So Ricky's point there pretty much comes right up in terms of it'd be a worry, wouldn't it, Holly? Because there is no one else.
Yeah, it would actually be a real big worry. 1, because who would replace him from the bench, and 2, because it just shows the massive drop-off we've had from last season, because we were such a kind of wholly team contributing towards goals in general before. And now we've, like, if you look at it in terms of previous seasons, Martial, Rashford and Greenwood all contributing towards goals. Bruno came in and scored a lot of goals as well. We haven't got that anymore. We haven't got any defenders scoring. Harry Maguire should be outputting a lot more goals for his potential heading ability that we signed him for. None of the defence have really contributed in goals at all, which you don't expect them to, but still need to help out when it matters most. And it is literally only Ronaldo now, and even I couldn't even remember the Fred goal, so that says a lot. It just feels like ages since that one we've been scoring as a team. It seems like he's been kind of plucking the goals out of nowhere as well. So it's worrying.
That's it. I mean, I can't remember the Fred goal actually.
It was at Old Trafford, mate, and he followed up a shot, didn't he? That came back off the
field. Oh, yes.
On the left-hand side.
That was the one, wasn't it? Yeah. God, man, that seems like an age ago on its own. But
Fred's been injured. He might come back. He might come back scoring. You never know.
Yeah.
Leicester, wasn't it? It was against Leicester.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the one. Well remembered, Rick. Well remembered. I mean, Beth, you've always been in the boat of Ronaldo will stay. You feel like he is going to stay because he wants to finish his United career with something at the end of it. You feel like there's that sort of romantic sort of factor with him at the end of his career now, where he would be looking to at least leave his mark. I mean, he's more than left his mark. It's just a shame that it's coming officially our worst ever Premier League season.
Yeah, it's one of them where now you've said that back to me, maybe I was feeling a little bit too optimistic. Do you know what I mean? Like, in my head, I want him to stay, obviously, because he's our best player by far, in my opinion. And yeah, we didn't have the best starts of the season, but I mean, this United team's been been poor all season. He'd been awful at times, and the way he's managed to get some of the goals he's got, I just think, imagine if we actually had a decent team around him and we're playing decent football. I think if he was in Manchester City's team this season, or any team that actually created a decent amount of chances, he would have been top goal scorer in the league by a mile. I think he's in one of the worst teams the worst Manchester United team ever, we'd say, isn't it? If we're going to finish that on points this season. So for the goals he's got and the way he's carried us through, I think it's important we keep him, especially with the amount of positions we're going to have to replace in the summer, the amount of people leaving, the amount of senior players leaving. You need a senior player in that dressing room, which he is. He came in, disrupted the dressing room with his high standards, and that's something that you need in the dressing room, especially when you're going to be bringing youth players in. You're going to be bringing new players into the club. He knows what United's about. He's been there for the good times. He's also seen the standards this season. He's seen the poor times. And I think you need someone like that as a bit of a leader in the dressing room to carry the project. I mean, if he does stay, it'll only be for another year. And I think it's important in that transitional phase. But like Ricky said before, we don't know what the manager's plans are. I'd assume he would want to keep Ronaldo. I mean, I would assume that. I think most managers would want to do that. But if he decides not to, and if Ronaldo decides to go, that's something that we'll have to look at in the summer, and we'll have to get replacements in. It's going to be a very, very chaotic transfer window, I think, with all the players that are leaving. And I think it's really important that United has that refresh, and players leave, new players come in, and we start this new project. But me, I think Ronaldo, you've got to try your best to try and keep him, because you need something there that's going to solidify the transitional phase into the next project, which is to start next season as well.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky, I don't see it being from the new manager coming inside. I mean, you yourself have said it. I mean, Ten Hag hasn't really got a problem with age of players. Daley Blind, Tadic, he's made these players and turned them into his system and made them work. Haller doesn't do much running in that system up front either. I mean, you've been a big advocate of age of player not really playing any part in it. So on the manager's side coming in, you can't see this really being a problem. It's really probably only on Ronaldo. Would that say that sort of swayed you to thinking that he was going to stay out of this?
God, something else you've got to ask yourself is he going to want you'd think he's going to want to play Champions League football, wouldn't you? That's the other big thing.
Like that on that there, actually, you could say, someone has put it in the comments, and it was an interesting point. The only one he's not run is the Europa League, so maybe he just finishes it off.
Yeah, I can't see him wanting to ditch Champions. Look, I don't know, at 37 whether he's going to be keen to try and win another Champions League. He's such an ultimate pro. He probably will think that he's got another Champions League winners medal in him, won't you? So it's a difficult one to guess, mate. It really is. He spent a long time with United in his first period. This can't have been very enjoyable for him, this season. Let's be honest.
No, I do think that Ronaldo being the mature.
If I was in his shoes and Bayern or Real Madrid came knocking, I think I'd be out the door.
Yeah. Do you feel like that is it, Holly? It's like a Real Madrid return would be too good for him to turn down?
Yeah, it's the romance of it, isn't it? The Real Madrid return. But I do think, testament to his character, I don't think he'll be happy with how it's gone at United so far. And it is a kind of, where does he go from here? Because we are obviously going to start building something new with Ten Hag next year. So it's a matter of, do I kind of stick around even though I'm just going to be part of a rebuild or something? Because none of us are expecting, obviously, Man United to win anything next year. So like next year being his last season, will he want to stick around and kind of just start building towards something and be part of that? But is that enough for him? The only other thing that I think would be a saving grace is, obviously, we've got the World Cup this year in just the beginning of the season. So it will be a very, very demanding season on Ronaldo. And I know, obviously, he won't like to admit it, but he is getting older, and it is very demanding alone being in the Premier League. So maybe the fact that he would just have Premier League football and then he can focus on the World Cup as well. In regards of, obviously, he'd have to play midweek football a lot with Champions League. Would that kind of balance out for him enough, and he can put his all into that? But again, it's just taking something away from, obviously, the man that he is. playing for Man United, he wouldn't have planned for that. He wouldn't have wanted that. But it is, if he's just going to have to kind of live with it if he does want to stay with us and put all of his eggs into the World Cup and the Premier League.
I think that's a fantastic point. I think that's a fantastic point. I really do. He might, one thing he hasn't won is the World Cup. Do you know what I mean? He might think wherever his best chance of putting his all into the World Cup might be the best place for him to be. I think it's a great thing about that, Ollie.
And at that age as well, it's a fair point because you can probably make them decisions a bit easier when you're that age. You can sort of like prioritize, like Holly said, then where you want and how you want to finish it. I mean, to be honest, Portugal for the World Cup probably got an all right chance, and you never know. You never know. They've got good players there, so
he'll probably think they've got a better chance than they actually have got, though, Adam. That's how.
Yeah, I know. That's his standards, isn't it? So it's like you said. So then you're creeping into the mindset of Ronaldo and where he actually thinks his career is going and what he can actually accomplish. And that being so close is a very good point. It is, because it's going to play havoc on the season. I think the World Cup, the players having to adapt from the highs and lows of that to then get back up to be competitive again mid-season. Early start in the summer as well, Beth. Ronaldo obviously is a massive debate in terms of stay, go. There are certain players in this team that we really couldn't give a toss about in terms of if they stayed or if they went. One of them right now is Jesse Lingard, and reports coming out that he would be open if Ten Hag can convince him to stay at Manchester United. Where do you get off on even making that statement, if it is him, first of all? But we know that sort of reports come out from their people. But there lies the big issue, Beth. Where's he coming with that statement? Where does he get the right to even say, can you convince me to stay? It's like too much player power again.
Yeah, it's comfortability. The fact he's been at United for so long, he's on a very good wage and would be still on a very good wage. And he's actually quite old now, isn't he? I think he's like, is he 29? Like, he's going to be one of his last contracts. So just the way Jesse Lingard has kind of conducted himself at United and the way his United career has gone, that is something I would completely expect him to say. Like, it genuinely is. Like, I'm not surprised that them comments are coming out. I mean, if Ten Hag feels like he would use Jesse Lingard and could use Jesse Lingard and he's going to be part of his plans, then that's just something that we'd have to deal with and move with going forward. But it's like Ten Hag even said that he's going to be completely open and honest with all the players and tell them exactly where they stand. He would never bring anyone in, promise them game time and then not be able to give it them. So if he does decide to keep Jesse Lingard, it'd be Ten Hag's decision, and he's obviously sees him as part of the future, but I cannot see that happening, if I'm honest. I really don't. I feel like Jesse Lingard's career at United has been very up and down, and I think especially this season, I mean, how poor we've been, still not being able to get in the first team, posting pictures in West Ham kits when United are doing so poorly in the league and they're our competition. Paul Scholes thing as well, on the back of everything, it makes it think who he's leaking stuff to the press out of the dressing room. It's just, I think if we're starting fresh and we're starting a reset and a new project like we've all discussed for quite a while now, I think them type of characters that have come through this era, which has been a poor era for Manchester United, has been a poor one for the fans, I think they need to leave now. And I think we need to start afresh with new, exciting players that are going to go on this project with Ten Hag and improve with the team. And I think personally for me, I would be looking to offload him straight away. And it's like, if I was Jesse, it's like go to Newcastle, play week in, week out, try and fight to get into the World Cup squad. He can play first team football at a lot of Premier League teams, and Newcastle are a very exciting up and coming team where I think he would definitely start for them. Why? I don't see why he wouldn't do that. Like, it's just, he's got to think about his future, and I think if he values his career, he should be looking to leave, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, on Lingard and Rashford, I'll bring him to the equation because I think Rashford comes into this as well, Vicky, wanting to know his situation and where he stands with Manchester United. I think that's a ridiculous statement on its own already. I've come out with my reply on that, but I mean, two players there that you've criticised quite often in the past in terms of not really bringing anything to the team or offering anything, Ricky. Lingard especially, this is probably the only and easiest time to be rid of a player like Jesse Lingard. Rid sounds like a harsh word, to be honest, because he has contributed at times for this team, but we've always struggled in this in terms of letting players go or getting fee for certain players. Lingard in that category. With his contract running out, I mean, if Ralph is going to have a say, he is surely going to speak to Ten Hag on certain players, Ricky. Can you see Lingard having any chance at all? Knowing exactly how his relationship is with Ralph Rangnick?
Not for me. I mean, when I watch Jesse Lingard play, I'll put this question to you three. I can't work out what his best position is. Is he a right winger? Is he a number 10? Is he a left winger? And to me, I don't mean to be rude, but it's not that he excels in these positions. It's just positions that he can fill. Do you know what I mean? So I'm all for having players that can play numerous positions. We've had some great players over the years that can fill in a few different roles. But Jesse, to me, is a player who can play, pretty average, really, but in a few different roles. And that's not for me. I just don't see where he fits in.
Mm-hmm.
No. And I think Rashford for you, Ricky, as well, is another one there. Contract is due to be renewed next year. Obviously, completely out of form at the moment, but falls into that Jesse Lingard category again about right now. I couldn't tell you where he sort of suited us in terms of a system at all. And we know the system is going to change completely once Ten Hag comes in. So Rashford is another one that's, he may be asking for reassurances of what his role is at the football club. And I'll tell you what my answer was now to that statement. It was get on the training ground and earn your spot in the team. That's where your role is at Manchester United right now, mate, because you're just not doing it. There's not enough effort in there and he just looks like a man lost. So there's a lot of, I would say, character searching for these players to do within themselves as well.
Yeah, Marcus is another one. A little bit different to Jesse. I think it's pretty obvious. Like Jesse can play 2 or 3 different roles. Like I say, not especially well, but he plays a few different roles. Whereas Rashford, he's definitely not a number 9. He's not good enough with his back to goal. He's half decent on the left and he's half decent on the right. So he's a wide attacker. So at least we know his position, so to speak. But again, we've got too many players, I think, that are ahead of him. Sancho and Elanga. If Martial comes back, I think he's better than Rashford in any role. I don't know if Martial will come back or not, of course. But I just don't see a place for Marcus. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, Holly, is it time for you that Lingard just went? Can you see? I mean, we used to know Lingard as a player that used to work hard, used to at least put the shift in. You would have thought he was ideal for Rangnick, but there's a problem behind the scenes there. Is it a case of just let's cut ties, let's just make that fresh start now and make it convincing and move forward? Or is it a case that they probably are looking at this because, like we've all just discussed already, we are going to be down on a lot of numbers after this summer, and I'm pretty convinced Manchester United's board or whoever's in charge cannot get that many players back through the door in one summer, and we don't want to fall too far behind because we're already in that position now.
Yeah, I do get why Ten Hag obviously wants to have a conversation with him because he is currently a Man United player. And obviously Ten Hag will realise the amount of players that need to leave, and maybe Jesse could do a job for him. In the long run, I think that the job that Jesse does can be replaced and probably should be, because obviously he's not bringing a whole lot to the team right now and he hasn't been for a long time. He was very important for us at one point. It's a shame actually to see him drop off so much because obviously he was a youth player and stuff like that, but it is the way it is, and he obviously can't keep up with I say he can't keep up with the Premier League, but obviously then he went to West Ham and he flourished in the way he did. He suits the system more like that, for definite. There's no argument there really, but for the job he can do for Man United, I don't think that he can do it well enough to kind of justify him staying and him bringing enough to the team for me. So we'll see what happens, but I would, if it was down to me, I would probably let him go. It's just the fact that obviously we're going to be low on numbers next season if as many leave as reported, but for me, I think it's done with Jesse. So
yeah, just to clear it up from my side as well, everybody, I would definitely let Jesse Lingard go. 100%. Another player I would let go. I'll come to you first on this one, Holly, as well. Paul Pogba. Romano has said this for many a times. Damasio saying the same thing. It's a bit of a concern that the best offer on the table is from Manchester United. I mean, surely people above can see how the relationship is between Pogba and this fan base. It's just time. Another player, Holly. Yeah, we're going to lose money again, but we've got to start. We've got to start fresh with this. We've got to set the standard now in terms of how we're going to do this wage structure as well, and with players and new contracts. Paul Pogba, for you, it is just literally the end. For me, how are you seeing Pogba at all? Is it any way, shape or form for you? I don't think I've asked you this question before, Holly, or you've been on the show with me. Where are you at with Paul Pogba right now?
It's another difficult one for me. I do like Paul Pogba, but he just doesn't justify the amount of money that we've offered him. He really doesn't. He doesn't bring enough to the team as consistently as he should, playing in a Manchester United shirt. And obviously, a fee we paid for him and the amount we pay him weekly, it's not enough. He doesn't give us enough to justify that. And I think the fact that we've even offered him a contract is quite laughable. I think him and United just need to agree to disagree. He came and he filled his contract and he stayed for the amount of length his contract was for, but it's just not worked out. I don't think we suit each other. We could have done maybe more as a team to build around him, but we didn't. And I think it's over now and we need to move on from that. And he's the type of player that we should kind of avoid from now, because he was just a big money signing and he was just, hopefully him alone, which is just obscene. You can't expect a player alone to come in and make that difference to the team, especially we were struggling at the time. So like I said, I think it is a little bit, we could have done more, he could have done more, but he definitely doesn't justify staying for me. And I think we should just move on from that at the moment. But I do really like him. I do think when on a good day, he probably is the best in his position. But not for United, not anymore. He just needs to go now.
That's it,
doesn't have enough
Sorry,
good days.
He has lots of good days, doesn't he?
He just said on his good days, but he doesn't have enough good days, does he? Not for me.
Yeah, I can't remember the last ones. I remember he came back and his form was, it wasn't bad. It was decent, and then he literally fell off a cliff again. And that's what we've seen with Pogba all the time. You may get the odd one, like Ricky said, Beth, there, but few and far between. The fact that the contract is still on the table is probably the only worrying thing right now, because I don't think Ralph Rangnick's going to blow his trumpet in terms of Ten Hag and what he's going to say there. I don't think he would. And it's like with Ralph Rangnick, he's actually said, look, you need to bring in players, young, hungry players that you can develop. This has gone past that now with Pogba. He's already peaked in my eyes, and that doesn't fit that mould, does it?
No, it's like when we were saying the other week, United obviously put the new banner up outside Old Trafford, and the main person on the front of it was Paul Pogba, even though he's probably going to be leaving within the next few months, and is being open about the fact he wants to leave. He wants to leave Manchester United. So it just shows that the reason Paul Pogba is such an important asset to Manchester United and why the offer is still on the table is because of the marketing opportunities that he brings to the football club. He's a big player, got a very big social media presence, one of the most popular players in the world when it comes to well-known players, and Manchester United bought him for a big fee, and they're probably desperate not to let him go on a free again, because it is embarrassing, and it shows how poor the board are at negotiating contracts and handling these players. So I can see it from that point of view when it comes to the club. But if we're talking about changing the way that United's ran and changing the way that this club hands out contracts and handles players, for me, Paul Pogba's got to leave in the summer. I mean, like we've all said, everyone knows that Paul Pogba is a very, very technically gifted player. But unfortunately, I don't know if it's a Premier League, I don't know what it is, but in a Manchester United shirt, he just isn't consistent. And like Ricky said, he never really has that many good days anymore. I mean, he never really did. It's been so inconsistent for the amount of time that he's been here. On his day, he can be the best player on the pitch by a mile. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen week in, week out. And we can't afford to be wasting this type of money and giving contracts out to players that just don't deserve it. Like, if you give Paul Pogba 500k a week, what example does that set to the rest of the squad and the rest of the players? He's just not deserving of that contract, in my opinion, through his performances over the years. Do I think he's a good player? Yes. But also, when it comes to the way he's spoken around Manchester United, the problems that have come out around his name, we don't know what's true and what's false. But I think for United just be rid of him, it just gets that whole story and that whole drama disconnected from Manchester United. And I think he would flourish in a different league. And I think it's one of them where he came back to Manchester United. We had some good times, not enough of them though. And I wish you all the best. And we start the new project. Without him, he's another player that I think needs to leave in order for the club to evolve. If you know what I mean, I feel like he's been part of the era that's just been very toxic and negative. And I'm not putting that all on Paul Pogba. It's just what Manchester United's been over the last few years. And I think there needs to be a massive clear out. And I feel like he's definitely one of the players that needs to move on now.
Yeah, it says a lot, Vicky, because we know that Ten Hag is a manager that will give a player a chance, but once he's not taken that chance, that's it. It's his way or the highway. You get one shot. And to give such a big contract out, the club must be thinking that, having employed Ten Hag, that to throw a contract of that amount of money to a player, which is in his peak, coming to the end of his peak in terms of player age, as we know, and what that is set at in terms of late 20s. But it's like Ten Hag is notorious for, if you're not working straight away, if you don't work when given a chance, then you're out the door. It's a bit too much of a risk to even try and keep hold of Paul Pogba for that reason, if you're going to back the manager solely.
Yeah, he is too much of a risk, and he's such a high-profile player. Obviously, I mean, I know this you don't have to give him game time just because he expects game time, but he's going to expect a lot of game time. And for the amount of money you're paying him, you'd want that player to get a lot of game time if he's worth that money. That makes common sense, really, isn't it? But when he plays, United are a poorer team. There's no two ways about it. You know, in recent months, last couple of months, I can think of him getting subbed against Norwich when we're drawing 2-2. Norwich, who are bottom of the league, and then we've gone on to win. I can think of him getting subbed against Leeds when it was 2-2. A player who's on all that money, who's one of your biggest stars and supposedly a big threat and a playmaker, and you're subbing him against the bottom teams in the league while you're not beating them. You know what I mean? It's not a good sign. And this is the type of thing that's going on. When he plays, we are a worse team. I don't care what anyone says.
It's another player as well, whereas like every week it's a different position. He's still not nailed down a position in 6 years. I mean, I know that our squad, I mean, he doesn't suit the squad and the players in there. I understand that. We've never brought in that CDM really to complement him. And Matic did do that in that season, but then now Matic isn't playing week in, week out. But you can't purely just blame the club for Pogba's failure. I mean, they've been a part of it, but he also has to take some accountability himself. And I think any player that is as world-class as what he's made out to be should flourish in any team. We've not done anything to help him out whatsoever, but it's just like we just still don't even know his best position. That's
it. It's funny, isn't it, going back to the players that we're all talking about now, actually going back to the Jose Mourinho days, is when these players were flourishing. And we all used to laugh at Mourinho and say he wasn't the answer. But I tell you what, everything he said that season seems to be coming right in terms of getting 82 points and finishing second with that team. Was a minor miracle and his biggest achievement. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not wanting Jose Mourinho back or anything like that, but the warning signs were there, and that's when this sort of all started kicking in with these players. It's no coincidence that a higher profile player in Zlatan was when Paul Pogba had his best season for Manchester United, when he wasn't top dog in that dressing room and he was put in his place by a real professional, dare I say, in Zlatan. That Paul Pogba had an absolutely excellent season. I remember it well. And I think that was, I think the last time we won a trophy as well. So, let's rest my case on that one. But, Beth, I'm going to come to you firstly on this one. Big advocate of Tuamina. He's a player that you would like to come into the football club. A different option, a lot cheaper than what a Declan Rice would be. Romano's been talking it up like he is very interested in the Premier League. But the worrying sign for it is we could be in competition with Liverpool. And right now, as a player, I understand, yes, Ten Hag has got a future and everything like that. But as a player right now, that is a problem for us, isn't it, Beth? Because the competition is too much in terms of where our development is compared?
This is the big problem. United, we've been looking at players over the years, and we've been looking, and it's not even if you go to the big names, because I wouldn't say Tumin is not a big name; he's an up and coming player. But the problem is, all the up and coming players now, they're gonna want to go and play Champions League football. I mean, bias aside, and if you don't support any team in the Premier League and you just go and you're thinking about your career, United comes with Europa League football, having one of the worst seasons that the United have ever had. New manager, you don't know what's going to happen with it. I mean, there's a project there, but he's a manager in transition, making the next step up. Or you've got Liverpool that are on course for a quadruple, have been winning trophies for the last few years with Klopp, and Klopp's one of the top 2 managers in the world, and some would argue one of the best managers, maybe the best manager in the world. And he's developed young players and developed up-and-coming players. Which one are you going to pick? Like, it's an obvious choice, isn't it? And that's where the problem lies. Manchester United aren't going to be able to just go and get any player that they want, especially if there's competition around from the top clubs. I mean, not having Champions League football is a massive factor in this. I think we're going to lose out on a lot of players this summer because of that, because that's where all young up-and-coming players that have ambition where they want to play. And it's unfortunate that the Premier League has the best teams in the world, and the best teams in the world, unfortunately, are not us right now. So the competition is going to be so hard to get any sort of players in. You look at Calvin Phillips, someone that's been talked about. He's not going to come because of the Leeds thing. You look at Declan Rice, too expensive. Tchouaméni is going to want Champions League football. What really options have Manchester United got? And this is where we have to start looking at developing players that aren't really on the scene yet, and looking at the scouting networks and looking at youth players such as James Garner that's out on loan and doing really well. United are going to have to compromise on certain situations, and this is where I think Rangnick's really going to have to come into play and help them out, because players that he's brought through at clubs that haven't had that pull factor, like Leipzig, the way he brought Mane through, Firmino, Werner, all them players, Canate, that actually is doing really well at Liverpool now. He's got an eye for that talent. So if United want to be able to get through this, they should be listening to him, because that could be a real get out of jail free card, that we've actually got someone there now that knows about up-and-coming talents and knows about up-and-coming players. And you don't have to go for the obvious pick every single time, which is what United have done. They need to start afresh and go in with a fresh pair of eyes and someone who really, really knows the job. And thank God Rangnick is staying in that sense. That's what I've been thinking about the last few weeks. Yeah, he's not been the best manager as in getting results for us since he came in, but his press conferences, the things he's called out, and his expertise going into the transfer window is going to be, I think it's going to be worth it personally.
Yeah, that's it. The best teams, the best managers, Holly. That's what we're competing against, because we have got the top 4 best managers on the planet ahead of us right now in the Premier League. And that, with Champions League alongside it, is going to be a tough job for Ten Hag to convince. And with all the chopping and changing upstairs in the hierarchy at Manchester United right now, a job for them as well, because not only the first season for our manager, but a lot of roles above, in terms of obviously Matt Judge leaving, the 2 head scouts leaving. There's fresh blood all the way through our staff in general, from playing staff to upstairs, Holly. It's a tough ask considering what we've got on the table. It's a big sell for United right now, isn't it, to get these younger players in, that what Ten Hag is saying?
Yeah, there's definitely more drawbacks than positives to come to United at the moment. And I think even the only thing we can really sell to players that we're interested in is the rebuild. And even that in itself is incredibly risky for a player like Tchouaméni to come and not waste a lot of his career, because hopefully it will become good. But it is a massive risk for him to come and obviously try and trust the rebuild. And you'll be putting a lot of trust into your teammates. You'll be putting a lot of trust into Ten Hag, a lot of trust into Man United themselves. And the teammates that he will be coming into at the moment wouldn't exactly fill in with hope. So it's just a matter of, can we sell in the rebuild? And hopefully Ten Hag can do enough to impress these players and hopefully get them on our side. But it's very, very difficult with the likes of Liverpool, especially more so Liverpool, because they have a better fan base as well, and they're a lot more connected with their fans than the likes of City. But
Ooh, shot fired by Holly.
Yeah, what the amount of fans they have, but but yeah, I just think it's really difficult, but it would just show testament to obviously Ten Hag if he can persuade them to come, and obviously we need the right people to approach these players and try and get the deal over the line, and try with the teammates as well. Obviously, we haven't got the most attractive players at the moment, but hopefully they can. Next year, we'll see some more positives and that we'll start to get these players in.
Well, that's another reason why it'd be very valuable to keep Ronaldo as well. That is also a pull factor with players coming to the club.
Yeah. Wanting to play alongside the greatest of all time. That's it. Vicky, this one's for you now. This is a big one. We're in the midfield area, mate. I have to ask this question. You watch an awful lot of football, my friend. Matic is going, mate. It's a sad day. I know. Ricky, watching football, knowing what we need in that midfield and what Matic brings, which is that calming, clever, reading the game, strong influence in front of the back four, the only player at the club who does that role. Who out there would you see in what we've just discussed and what we're up against? Is there any player out there for you that you like the look of? Because we are going to have to fish from a different pond maybe this summer.
Yeah.
Who is it for you, Ricky, that's sort of got them Matic traits? Who's there for you? Come on. Big question now for you, mate, this. What have you got for me?
Obviously, most of the best players already play for the best clubs, don't they? And
true.
Off the top of my head, I can't think. I mean, I must have seen one or two that I've fancied over the years or over the last season or two. But, you know, it's the players at the big clubs that everybody knows. We ain't going to Cantona with Jorginho from Chelsea. We're not going to get Rodri from City.
Is that position that important, Ricky? Then it's like that's a position that you wouldn't give to an up and coming young player. Do you reckon?
You'd have to be special. I mean, Michael Carrick was quite young and was good enough at a young age.
Brilliant.
So it's not impossible to get. It's not impossible to get a young player who's good enough. It's also not impossible. I mean, I've been fed over the years, and I was playing to people. The age doesn't matter so much. I noticed James Milner started yesterday. You know, United fans all think Matic and Mata are too old, and I think they're both 33, aren't they? And Milner's 36. In fact, I heard the commentator say Liverpool have gone for more energy in the midfield by bringing Milner in. I thought, well, he's 36 and they're picking him for his energy, according to the commentator. So, I mean, obviously, Matic is going to go. Mata's contract is up. Not that he plays that position. So when you're building a squad, when you're building a team to try to compete at the highest level, as you just said, you need to have good players in the team that other players are going to want to play with. So if you're aiming at some really good young players and you want to attract them to your club, you need your club to start doing well, and over a short period of time in the first instance. So there's no reason. I mean, everybody wants young players. But if there's an experienced player out there who's willing to sign for us, who's good in that role, I wouldn't be afraid of signing an experienced player. Most of the fans will probably go, "Oh no, he's 30, he's 31." And now I know we've had this argument already, but you know, with signing Cavani and signing Ronaldo, people were saying, "What at that age? What's the future in it?" There might not be so much future in those players, but those players will should help you to be stronger in that given season, which then helps you to attract the players that you want to take their places. Do you understand what I mean? You need to just think. You need to just think about the present, really, about this season. So if there's a player out there, it doesn't have to be a young player. It really doesn't. Well, put it this way: if Matic was still with Chelsea and was not getting a new contract this season, I'd be saying to you, we should go and try and sign that Matic. Do you know what I mean?
Well, on that, it's like we all know that Chelsea. If Chelsea sort their ship out, Ricky, I'll put this one to you: go in, possibly sign Declan Rice. They don't need that many players. If a Kovacic, a Jorginho, or a Conte, for instance, then became surplus, would one of them do for you for now?
I don't see why not. Well, let me put this to you as well. We're obviously losing. It looks I think Pogba's going to go, but like you've just said, who's going to take him? Who's going to afford his wages? But I don't want Pogba in my team anyway. We need somebody who's more consistent. So for whether the Pogba's there or not, I'm looking at the team and trying to get the team stronger and playing more consistently. So, and this is why it's ridiculous what we touched on before about the wages that Pogba's on. If we signed Pogba, he wouldn't be in my starting lineup anyway. How can you give somebody all that money who's not really going to be in your starting lineup? He wouldn't be in mine. So we need somebody who's more consistent. And if it happens to be somebody that gets released from one of the big clubs, I won't have anything against it. Not at all.
Yeah, Fernandinho too old and too much?
I think how old is he, Fernandinho? I think he's a bit
He's like 37. Is he 37?
Yeah, probably not Fernandinho. Probably not.
I don't think that would ever happen anyway, but still old enough and good enough to come on and score a goal again yesterday. Man. But that is the question. I mean, there's plenty of targets out there, obviously, but it does depend on Ten Hag, and that's what's important. But at the end of the day, it's who he wants. There's plenty of rumours from possible Ajax players. There's positions all over the Ajax team that I would take players from, to be honest, right now, because I'm seeing performers all over the pitch for them. But, I mean, centre-back especially, we're looking at the likes of Harry Maguire and if he's going to fit into Ten Hag's system. We've discussed it before. I think he's the big one on everyone's lips right now. And it's obviously, I'm not taking a pop at Harry Maguire as the obvious target at the moment, but late fitness tests for tomorrow, by the way. Could actually be back, just so that's what I warn you all. Harry Maguire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so brace yourselves for that one possibly. But Harry Maguire in this system, I don't see how it works at the moment, Beth, at all. This is another player on a lot of money, cost us a lot, and he's going to be hard to get rid of. And like I said before, if Ten Hag does not like you, you're out of that team, and it's going to be very difficult to get back in. That's another big lump. Not saying that. That's another big lump of money sat on the bench or doing nothing or surplus. That's what the club is going to have to give in terms of power to Ten Hag, isn't it? Because it's only going to work if he can do what he wants to do.
Exactly. And do you know what? You've just got to forget the £80 million price tag, forget how much anyone costs. Ten Hag comes in, if he wants to bench a player, if he wants to get rid of a player, so be it. Because what's going to be worse, forcing him to play him and not getting the results you want. But you're still not getting your money's worth there. So sometimes you just got to cut your losses, and you never know. Ten Hag might come in and he might play him. We don't know what's going to happen yet. But personally, for me, when I watch the way he sets up his team, I don't think I can see it. And I mean, I feel like we need pacey centre halves, especially when you're looking the way if he's looking to adapt that style to the Premier League. I mean, I was watching City versus Leeds yesterday, and the way that City centre backs split off and cover each side of the pitch. I mean, the pace that they have to get back and the way that they communicate on each other's level. I just could never imagine our centre backs doing anything like it, and I think that's
saying that on that, Beth. Quickly, just to add to that, that is exactly how Ten Hag is going to want to play.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how he does. He wants to push his centre backs up and wide, and he wants to get his full backs forward, and that's not going to happen with Wan-Bissaka. It's not going to happen with Maguire, in my opinion. I think Lindelof could do it if he had a very pacey centre-half next to him, but ideally you'd want Varane and another pacey centre-half next to him. I mean, looking at Ajax team, like Timber, I'd take, Gravenberch, I'd take, Alvarez, I'd take, Anthony, I'd take. I'm like, I'd literally go in and be like, I'll have your whole team, please. But no, on a serious level, there's going to be a lot of players in that squad that don't fit the way he wants to play, and that's something that United's got to address. I mean, we did spend 50 million on Wan-Bissaka. We did spend 80 million on Harry Maguire, and I know for a fact I don't think Aaron Wan-Bissaka has a chance. Not at all. I think he's definitely going out the door, and I think that's one where United really got it wrong. And it's also the change of manager doesn't help. Certain managers like different players, like different types of players. And United have got to respect what Ten Hag wants to do and completely back him and go forward with the decisions that he's going to make. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see because we've heard about it on the shows recently, what Manchester United thinks the priority transfers are: centre back, CDM, forward. Ten Hag's going to come into the club And he might have different ideas about what are the priorities, and he might see players in that squad who we hadn't thought was going to work, and he might make them work. So it's going to be interesting to see what he chooses to do. But 100%, I worry about a lot of names in that squad because I just don't think they're up to playing the way Ten Hag wants to. I mean, Rangnick's proved it this season. I mean, they've not been able to play the way Rangnick wants to play. He's called them out for not being physical enough, not being fit enough. Pre-season is going to be a massive, massive one for Manchester United this summer.
Brace yourselves, United fans. This summer is going to be chaotic, to say the least. And we will be there covering it all for you. So enjoy the ride. Holly, there is a game tomorrow. It is the last home game of what has been, like I said before, the worst Premier League season in Manchester United's history. That's facts now. Can't deny it. Can't get past David Moyes' total. So looking at this game, there are rumours to be walkouts towards the end, and we usually do a bit of a lap of honour as well. That word "lap of honour" is just it just doesn't ring for this season at all. Could be awkward moments tomorrow, say least, but there is a game. Holla, Brentford in decent form. To be honest, 1 defeat in 6. I mean, I think they've taken 13 points from them games where we've taken 5. Chelsea in there, Spurs in there in that run of games as well. Could cause a threat tomorrow. It may even get worse for us in the last home game of the season. What's your team, Holly? I'll let you go first on this one. What are you going with tomorrow? Who's your picks? How do we approach it? Do we bring youth into it? Or do we just say, no, leave the youth alone, let them play their FA Youth Cup final next week? Don't ruin the form, or don't get in the way of them actually of production and actually turning into decent players for us, hopefully. How are you going with it tomorrow? How do you see it going? What do you think Ralph's going to do? Is he going to change it up, or are we going to get the same old?
Well, firstly, there won't be a lot of honour in that lap. If they do it, it'll be more of a lap of dishonour. I know that's
it's like something from Game of Thrones, there.
Yeah, if the fans do walk out at the 73rd minute or whatever minute it was that they said they would, but it just has to be. It has to be more for the players than anything that they're doing that for, because obviously it's just been such a poor season, and we've had so many people just down tools. And I think tomorrow has a Brentford win written all over it. It really does. I think that even the way that Brentford's set up, Eriksen just controls the game for them now, which we will struggle with in the midfield, obviously, again. They're very pacey in the attack, which I think our defence is quite weak at the moment, and we would have to set up with kind of the fullbacks going forward, and then obviously that leaves our centre-backs exposed, and Brentford do like a counter-attack. So I just think a win for Brentford, or a draw maybe, but I can't see us beating them. I really can't. Any
change in team from what you've seen against Chelsea?
Well, because of obviously we haven't got a lot of squad depth at the moment.
None.
I don't think I would throw the youth into it, because I just think it's quite a toxic situation to throw them into. I just think it's quite unfair on them. And you have to be really careful with what you do with the youth at the moment, and because obviously we want them as fans to develop as well as possible. It's easy for us to kind of just say, "Oh, let them go on. They know what it means to play for Man United and stuff." But I just don't think it's that fair on them. I think the best environment for them to go into would be one of role models and the best possible United team we have for them to kind of squeeze in then. But I wouldn't do that. So I guess there's not a lot of option, is there, to kind of change the team. Tellez and Dalot, I mean, everyone kind of knows what I think of Tellez, but we haven't got much option, have we? So start with them. Varane definitely needs to be in the team. I'd put Fred, if he was fit, over McTominay.
Fred is a possible, by the way, guys, as well.
Yeah, Elanga has to play. Ronaldo picks himself. On the right, though, anyone but Rashford for me at the moment. I know we haven't got a lot of people there, but he just doesn't deserve a start. He really doesn't. And even what we heard about him today, saying that Rashford's confident that he's going to get a chance under Ten Hag. Whether you're confident enough, you still doesn't mean you get to just drop off and be as bad as you have been. You still need to work for it. Just because you're confident doesn't mean that game's done or the season's done. So Rashford, not for me tomorrow.
No. Ricky, are you mixing it up, mate? Are you just go play a manager, mate? Be a manager for a day. Go on, mate. Pick what you want.
You're asking me what I'd do then. And not
Yes, Vicar, give me your 11,
this is what I
Vicar.
would do tomorrow night. Dalot is pretty decent going forward. He's got a decent cross on him. He passes it well. I would push Dalot further forward and bring Wan-Bissaka in on the right.
Okay.
In other words, I would drop Rashford for Dalot effectively.
Yeah.
So I'd have Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Lindelof.
What system would you play, Vicky? What formation would you go with?
They call it 4-3-3 these days. To me, it's still 4-4-2 because we played.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
The last 2 games, you've got McTominay and Matic in the middle. You've got 2 wingers who are, who do work back. Well, Sancho's been injured, hasn't he? But it's generally Sancho. If Sancho was fit, he'd be playing. So we play with Sancho and Elanga wide. They drop back to help out. That makes a 4-man midfield as far as I'm concerned. Then we've got a number 10, which is Bruno, and then Ronaldo. So what I'd do tomorrow, I would keep that format. You can call it whatever format you want, the shape. But I'd have Wan-Bissaka at right back. I would have. I'm not a big fan of Wan-Bissaka either, by the way. But just
We know that, Rick.
I'd bring Dalot through the forwards. You know what I mean? So I'd play Dalot on the right. I'd play Elanga on the left. I'd play McTominay and Matic in the middle. I'd play Juan Mata in Bruno's position and Ronaldo at number 9, and we'll beat him about 4-0.
Okay. I love it. That's like when you press that, when you put the players out and you put the team and you press quick match and the result just pops up without anyone playing anything.
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
Sim it.
Championship manager mode. Beth, who's yours? What are you going with?
It's a hard one because, again, like we just said, we've not got much depth. But I think it's mental to me that I'm like so excited to have Fred back in the squad. Like that's how poor we are. That I'm actually reliant on Fred coming back in because he is one of our better players at the moment, and I do think we've missed him due to injury just because of how poor we've been. So if Fred's fit, I think he comes straight back into the midfield. And for me, I'd like Holly said, I'd take McTominay out for him. I'd play.
And he's our other goal scorer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And he was on good form before he
score.
got injured. It was pretty disappointing, but then I actually would, Ricky, you'd be happy about this, I'd bring Mata into the team. I actually would, we're thinking about it because when he came on last week, he showed more effort than anyone else on the pitch, in my opinion. And I think Brentford, it's not one of them games where you need a lot of pace. It's like he'll bring a lot of control. So I think I dropped Rashford out for Juan Mata because he's played like an inverted winger before, hasn't he? And apart from that, I think I'd have to keep the team the same. I definitely wouldn't be bringing Maguire back into it for the last home game. I'd keep with Varane and Lindelof. And unfortunately, Tellez is the only left back we've got, so he has to play. Dalot, I think he's been decent. He's not been amazing, but I think he's decent enough to stay in the team. We've not got anyone else. And that's kind of where we're at the minute. A lot of players are sticking in the team because we don't have anyone else. It's like Elanga's like a mainstay every single week now, which is crazy because that shouldn't be the case. But he has to be because of the way he's playing compared to the rest of the squad. So it'll be an interesting game. I'm actually quite excited to go as well because I think Brentford play decent football. And I'm going to be looking at, Ivan Toney as well, playing as a striker against our centre-backs. I think he's a decent player, a very, very decent player. And if United are looking at anyone, I mean, I think a lot of people laugh when you say Ivan Toney because he plays it. He plays for Brentford and yeah, Brentford haven't scored that many goals, but since Eriksen's come into the team, he's actually had a creator. He's been playing so well, and I think in a team that actually created chances, he's got everything to his game. So that'll be interesting to see up close. So yeah, hopefully we do end up winning for the last game at Old Trafford this season. But it's sad to say, but I'm happy. I'm happy it is the last game, and I just can't wait for next season now. So I'm happy to have the break.
When you say we've missed Fred, Beth,
Go on,
I think we've played better since Fred's been missing. He played against Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool though, Rick.
No, he played against Norwich. I mean, Norwich poured through us. Norwich, think about it.
No,
Norwich,
but as a player in them games, I think he was very good individually.
Since he's been injured, all we've played against is Arsenal, where I think we played better than we've played for a long time. And then also Chelsea. We didn't play particularly well against Chelsea, but we got a decent result. So I think the 2 games that he's missed have been 2 of our better games for a long time. But
I don't think it's just a coincidence, though, because I think McTominay's quite hard.
whether it's a coincidence, I'm not asking you that question. Do you agree that our last 2 games have been 2 of our better games in quite a while?
They have been, yeah, but then I also watched Chelsea play today, and I was like, oh, no wonder we drew against them.
And let's be honest, without David De Gea in that, I mean, he's there to make saves, but Chelsea are really firing blanks. I mean, they should have had a few goals, the chances they created. But no, it's like Fred, I still don't know. In terms of Fred, he's playing well for himself. I understand where Ricky's coming from in a sense, but Fred is playing well for himself. Whether or not he fits the team or not is a different matter. It is, but he's sort of come on himself, and Ranić has been the first manager to actually find the position for him and get him away from that holding midfield role where he cannot perform, which is not his role. But in terms of my team, he was actually doing that echo.
Can I just say, is this as a box-to-box player? Fred has been way more successful as a box-to-box player than McTominay.
Yes.
McTominay had 25 passes last game, and Chelsea absolutely battered us and poured through our
I knew that
midfield.
was coming.
Yeah, I mean, I would have.
Norwich absolutely battered us.
Yeah, I know that, but I think
when McTominay wasn't playing, we were lucky to beat Norwich.
I think Fred has more of an impact on games than McTominay at the moment. That's just my opinion.
I don't agree. Anyway,
Yeah.
go on, let's
Beth, did you unplug your mic?
No, don't think
No,
so.
I'm just trying to think who I've got the echo off there. But it seems to have gone now, so we're okay again. So happy days. But in terms of my team, all our teams will be up on social media on United Stand tomorrow, guys. So it's all going down. Everyone's put it in. I would go with the same back 4, goalkeeper again. I would put 3 in midfield of Matic, Fred, and Bruno. I would have Mata just in front of Lingard and Ronaldo. Forget the width. We're useless at it. We really are. I just want to find that little bit of cohesion in possession of the ball. Let Fred be the destroyer. Let Matic, Bruno, and Mata do their thing. And then hopefully the goal will score as the goals, which we need to actually just give me a win, for God's sake. Just give me a win at Old Trafford. That's all I want. And it doesn't have to be Ronaldo who scores, please. Just give me anything. Well, I've not got my hopes up. I've not. But that's it, really. I mean, last game at home this season, guys. Ricky, you've been to a lot. I've been to everything. God. Beth, Holler, you've all been there this season. Worst and best moments at Old Trafford this season. And it's not a result, it's a particular moment. Think of something that you thought, wow, that took my breath away. Or, oh my God, we are awful. What are your moments? Who wants to go first on this one? And guys, in the comments, get yours in as well.
I think for me, one of the better ones, well, there's 2. At the start of the season, obviously, when we beat Leeds, I thought, wow, this is going to be the start of an amazing season. Also, when Ronaldo scored them 2 goals at home against Villarreal in the last minute of the Champions League, that in the group stages, that was a good moment. Because I remember I was just about to get up and leave. Next thing you know, everyone's like cheering, and we thought, yes, we're going all the way in this competition. And then, obviously, things didn't quite go to plan, but they're the 2 positive moments for me.
What's your negative one, Beth?
I mean, City, Liverpool. Need I go on? Probably Liverpool. I mean, that was horrendous. That was horrendous.
Yeah, all right, that was a bad one. Ricky, what have you got for me, mate?
Negative wise, like Beth just said, there's plenty of them, but getting knocked out of the FA Cup by Middlesbrough.
Yeah, that was bad as well.
I'll throw that one in.
God.
As far as the FA Cup's concerned, when you consider that City have only just gone out of it and would have been on target for a treble still, and Liverpool are still on target for a quadruple, I would, if I was United's manager, I would be throwing everything into trying to win the FA Cup. Just because we can't win the league and we can't win the European Cup, we should be throwing everything at that to try and prevent our big rivals from winning the treble. That'd be my mentality. So getting knocked out by Middlesbrough was shocking, and I'm glad that Beth touched on the first day of the season against Leeds, because I think that's ironic that the highest point of the season was the very first game of the season. So there you go.
It's a shocker. But Holly, talk to me.
Mine, obviously, the Villarreal game was just unbelievable. But for me, I'm going to have to go with the 4-1 against Newcastle for Ronaldo's first game. Just that whole day, I'll just remember forever, especially the second half. So, but the lowest, I'm going to go for a bit of a different one because obviously, apart from the obvious of Liverpool and City, but the Wolves game for me was particularly bad. So I'm going to take that one as my lowest.
That would be, that is right up there. I can't really disagree with. I cannot disagree with any of them. Really, they are out there. I mean, some people's there. What was it? The Varane unveiling. That was a good moment. Start of the season. That did get everyone sort of bubbling. First time United have ever done anything like that I can remember for a long time. But yeah, that was a good moment. The Ronaldo hat trick against Spurs for me was one big one. How he made them. I mean, there's no one else who's going to score from. It's no coincidence that scoring from a corner actually did start with Ronaldo. And the only two that we have was Ronaldo's head. He's just an absolute machine. But yeah, that Alanga been a good one for me in terms of coming on. But yeah, the bad ones are quite there to see. So looking around Old Trafford with 30 minutes to play in the biggest game in world football and seeing 20, 30,000 empty seats, that was bad. The Liverpool game at home, that was a hard one to take.
Do you know what else as well? The Atletico Madrid game was awful. That was a bad thing.
There's too many bets, isn't there?
Yeah, that's it. There is way too many moments to actually pick out of. It's funny enough, nearly all of our good moments have come from Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Says everything you need to know. Shout out to David De Gea as well for some of his saves at home this season as well. Because I would say alongside Ronaldo, probably the only one who's earned his wage this season. But one more game to go, everyone. My last home road trip will be out tomorrow, so enjoy that. Something different again. It feels like it's all coming to an end, doesn't it? It's exciting that it's nearly over. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But guys, cheers for tuning in. As always, we are finishing up now. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday weekend, everyone. Crack open a few beers tonight. Enjoy it before United tomorrow, because probably won't be celebrating too much tomorrow. Holly, cheers for coming on.
Thanks for having me again. Enjoy the rest of your bank holidays, everyone. So.
Thank you very much, Holly. Rick, cheers for coming on, mate.
Thanks a lot, mate. Enjoyed it.
Beth, cheers for coming on as always.
Yeah, great to be on, and I'll see a few people at United tomorrow in the usual place with me and Adam, and enjoy the rest of your bank holiday.
We'll see you all there for the last game at Old Trafford this season, everybody. Come and say hello. But for now, we're out of here. Like, share and subscribe, everybody. Cheers for watching as always. Brilliant content. We'll see you tomorrow.